What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. What's good? What's good? What's good, beautiful people? This is your boy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on a Monday dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm always grateful to be here with the people. You guys know the vibe. You guys know the energy. So let's make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are engaged. Kick your feet up. Take your shoes off. Make sure you got your snacks in front of you. Make sure you got your lunch in front of you. Some of you guys may be on your lunch break, right? I want to give a shout out to my people, the working man, the working woman, my blue collar folk, my white collar folk, my gray collar folk, right? The people that's in between, right? I want to give a shout out to all you guys. I want to give a shout out to our first responders. I want to give a shout out to our plumbers, our carpenters, our union workers, right? Our custodians. I want to give a shout out to our businessmen and businesswomen. I want to give a shout out to the entrepreneurs, right? The people who are going out there every day trying to get it. You don't know where the dollar or when the dollar is going to come, but you still get it done the way you do. Want to give a shout out to my teachers. Want to give a shout out to my truck drivers. You feel what I'm saying? I want to give a shout out to my people working in the hospitals, my people working in the dentist offices. You dig what I'm saying? I want to give a shout out to all those people who getting it out the mud. You dig? My teachers, man, oh man. So thank y'all so much for locking in on the content. Means a lot to me, goes a long way. I know you guys have a ton of options. Again, I'm always locked in the YouTube space. I'm always locked in on other people's content, studying people, just, always surveying the lay of the land. And there's so many great people out there doing great things. And you guys still decide to come here, kick with me, and I don't take that for granted. So again, I appreciate you guys. Smash that like button, smash that like button. And by the way, smash that like button. And if you're new, make sure you're subscribed. Also, I appreciate all of you who've been locking in on Spotify, right? All of you that have been locking in on Apple Podcasts. I want to give a shout out to all you guys listening on Twitch and Facebook, and all you guys that have tuned into all the different programs we have here on Chalk It Up Sports. That means a lot, man. It goes a long way. By the way, I want to give a shout out to all the people who make the ultimate sacrifice, man. I want to give a shout out to, our armed forces, right? I want to give a shout out to our veterans who are treated well, and I want to give a shout out to our veterans who are not treated well. Let's be honest about this. I'm not going to stand on the soapbox too long, but let's be honest about this. We're in America, and sometimes our veterans are not treated the way they're supposed to. Our veterans don't have the resources they're supposed to have. They're not being rehabilitated the way they're supposed to. They're not getting the treatment that they need. And I think that should be better in a country like this, a country that's so patriotic, a country that essentially is a red country at this point, right? Our veterans should be treated significantly better than they have. I grew up in Philly, and I've seen so many homeless veterans, so many, and it don't make sense to me. It don't. But nonetheless, I'm off my soapbox. I just wanted to get that off, man. Again, I just want to give a shout out to everybody. I want to give a shout out to everybody. Now, let's get to the football talk. It was an entertaining weekend in football. Very entertaining weekend in football. I believe what we saw this weekend, I believe we saw a clear, and at least in my opinion, maybe some of you guys feel differently, but I believe over the course of this weekend, we kind of saw a clear distinction between the haves and the have-nots. We got a clear distinction between the teams who are contenders and those who are, for lack of better terms, pretenders, right? And we're gonna do a quick little recap of the weekend. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles played Thursday. They took care of business against the Washington Commanders. They beat them, what was that, 26-18, right? 26-18, if I'm not mistaken. Make sure I got that right. Yes, 26-18. But it was some pretty fun games. And look, we still have a Monday night game. We still have a Monday night game tonight between the Cowboys and the Houston Texans, but I don't think that's going to move the needle for me in terms of who are contenders and who are pretenders, who are legit, who are fake, who are Super Bowl contenders and who are not. But just to do a quick recap, right, of the weekend, some games that stood out to me. Packers-Bears. I watched that game. That was a fascinating game. I feel like Caleb Williams arguably played one of his best games of the season. They recently fired their OC, and he looked significantly more comfortable out there in comparison to the rest of the season or earlier in the season. And the Packers, I understand this is a divisional game, and your divisional rivals are always going to play you tough. I completely understand that. But I've been underwhelmed with the Packers. And they barely got by a lowly Chicago Bears team, a rebuilding Chicago Bears team who is ahead of schedule, right? I feel like their talent doesn't necessarily match exactly where they are, right? Their talent is significantly better than their coaching staff. But the Packers, right? They've invested a lot in Jordan Love. They made him the highest paid quarterback at one point. Obviously, Dak Prescott holds that rank now, but the Packers, I expected more from them throughout this season, and I've expected more from Jordan Love throughout this season. I feel like Jordan Love has been underwhelming. That's my opinion. Some of you guys may feel differently, but I feel like Jordan Love has been underwhelming, and it's not getting talked about enough. It's not. He's turned the ball over in 7 consecutive games. He's in Jalen Hurts territory from last year. Isn't it crazy how the world turns? Isn't it fascinating? Right? Jalen Hurts had that spectacular season in 2022, and then he has the turnover bug in 2023. And then Jordan Love has a spectacular 2023. Now he has the turnover bug in 2024. Everybody gets a turn. Everybody gets a turn. And that's been my point. But nonetheless, the Packers won that game 20-19 on a blocked field goal. The Bears should have won that game. I feel like the Bears did enough to win that game, but the kicker didn't get it done. The special teams unit didn't block well enough. Christian Watson had a pretty good game, 4 catches, 150 yards. Josh Jacobs had a strong game, 18 carries, 76 yards, a touchdown. Jordan Love went 13 for 17, 261, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He played an efficient game, but they were very lackadaisical throughout the entire game. Regardless, though, Packers won 20-19. The Packers right now, I believe the Packers are – let's take a look at the seeding real quick. As of right now, the Packers are the 6th seed. They're 7-3. I got to be honest. I'm not overly fearful of the Packers. I'm really, really not. I'm not fearful of the Packers whatsoever. We beat them once. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles can very much beat them again. The Eagles' offense and defense is playing at a significantly higher level than the Packers' offense and defense, and it's just that simple. All right, I want to move on to another game that stood out to me, right? Another game. And we're primarily going to focus on the NFC side. There are going to be some AFC games that we touch on for a brief moment, and we're going to talk about the Eagles because I have some things I want to get off my chest with you guys because we had an eventful weekend, at least on social media. And I want to touch base with you guys about that. So, the Vikings, right? The Vikings. And look, we're only talking about teams that we think are relevant. The Vikings beat the Titans, right? 23-13. Now, here's my thing about the Vikings. Their defense is legitimate. I think the Vikings defense is really, really good. Brian Flores is getting the most out of that defense. My problem is when it comes to the Packers offense, I don't believe in Sam Darnold. I don't believe in Sam Darnold at all. I know he's having a significantly better season than he's ever had in his career. I know this is like his Cinderella year, it seems like. But I don't buy Sam Darnold whatsoever. He's slowly beginning to turn into a pumpkin. Now, granted, I'm not going to be unfair here. Sam Darnold went 20 for 32, 246 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and he had a rushing touchdown. Had a passer rating of 107. Not bad, and he didn't turn the ball over. Actually, he fumbled. I'm sorry. He fumbled and he lost it. But overall, he didn't throw an interception. He outplayed Will Levis, top to bottom. But there's something off about Sam Darnold. I feel like his game won't translate to the playoffs. I feel like it's only a matter of time before someone just knocks them off. That's my opinion about the Vikings. I think they're overachieving this year. Let's just be honest about that. They're overachieving. And look, they've managed to hold their water. They're 8-2. They have the same record as the Philadelphia Eagles. Believe it or not. So you have to give them credit for doing the work. You got to give the players credit. But if I'm looking strictly at Sam Darnold, I'm not overly impressed with him. It's something there that just doesn't smell right. Moving on. Let's see what else we got here. The Rams beat the Patriots 28-22. The Rams, they're 5-5 on the season. We play the Rams next. So that's the only reason I'm talking about them. They had a weak first quarter and a weak fourth quarter, but they put up 28 points in the second and third quarter combined. Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdowns, 18 for 27. Very, very good outing from him. Puka Nacua, 7 catches, 123, 1 touchdown. The Rams are a team that the Philadelphia Eagles can't afford to slip against. The Eagles are going to be on the road, and the Rams, they're streaky, but they can put up points, and they're talented at the skill positions. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, right? They got a good running back in Kyron Williams. Matthew Stafford is extremely talented at the quarterback position. He knows what he's doing back there, right? Sean McVay as a play caller. That game is not going to be as simple as we want it to be. The Rams are going to do everything possible to screw up our season. So I think it's going to be important for the Philadelphia Eagles to not sleep on the Rams. I think that's a team that can 1 week put up 17 points and another week put up 35 points. That's where they are. The Rams' floor is really low, but their ceiling is borderline high. And I think they've played more to the floor than anything else. But the Rams won 28-22. And they let the Patriots back into that game. That can't happen. That speaks to their defense. Ravens Steelers. Steelers beat the Ravens 18-16. I watched that game as well. And I understand the Ravens and the Steelers, they always have knuckle dragging matchups. I understand it's always physical with them. I know those games typically aren't the highest scoring. But Lamar Jackson has to play better than the way he played. Derrick Henry can't fumble in his own territory, right? I feel like the Ravens defense played well enough. And look, the Ravens defense has struggled all year. But they played well enough to win that game. And also, Justin Tucker, 6 points missing off the board because he missed field goals. You can make an argument if Justin Tucker just does his job, they win the game. You can make an argument for that. But you never really know how it turns out or how the Steelers will respond being down. You never know. But regardless, the Ravens fall to, what is that? The Ravens are now 7-4 in the season. The Steelers are 8-2. I believe the Steelers have a game and a half lead, right? Is that what it is? A game and a half lead over the Ravens? Regardless, though, the Steelers are sitting pretty at the top of the AFC North, and I don't think anybody expected that. The Seahawks played spoiler for the 49ers, beat them 20-17. Geno Smith marched down the field on a game-winning drive. In the final seconds of the game, ran it in for a touchdown. Listen, the 49ers are cooked. The 49ers are cooked. They are a shell of themselves. On paper, you look at the roster and say, well, this team is talented, right? But they've been battling injury. They don't have Ayuk. CMC just came back. Their defense has not been as good as we thought they would be this year. The San Francisco 49ers can very well miss the playoffs. It's entirely plausible that they miss the playoffs. Now, I don't know if they will. We still have a ton of football left. They have 7 games left. They can get hot, and all of a sudden, they win 12 games or 11 games, right? So we'll see what happens, but the margin for error is beginning to dwindle for a lot of these teams, like the San Francisco 49ers. And I was very much rooting for this. I was definitely rooting for the Seahawks. Bengals, Chargers. The Bengals are done. Chargers beat the Bengals 34-27. The Chargers dominated the first half. The Bengals offense dominated the second half. And then the Chargers managed to step up when it mattered most. Look, the Bengals are cooked. Joe Burrow doesn't have a defense. It's the reality, man. It's the reality. Joe Burrow threw that ball 50 times. They have no running game. They have no defense. You know what's so funny, right? All the good teams, all the contending teams have a running game. But they tried to tell us the running back is losing value. They tried to tell us that. They tried to tell us the running back position is losing value. You shouldn't pay running backs. You shouldn't invest in running backs. I bet the Bengals are missing Joe Mixon now. I bet you that much. I bet you that. So the Bengals, in my opinion, 4-7, they're cooked. They're done. The Chargers, they're looking like a team that can rattle some cages in the playoffs, right? I love the way they're playing. They're very balanced. They're leaning on their run game as well. You see, it doesn't matter how talented the quarterback is, right? He needs a running game, period. John Harbaugh, or is it Jim Harbaugh? Jim Harbaugh, make sure I always get them mixed up, man. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh came in there and said, listen, Herbert, I don't care how talented you are. We're not throwing the ball 40 times a game. I don't care what we got to do. I don't care what the score is at the end of the game. You're not throwing the ball 40 times a game. And now you're seeing Herbert's talent being more optimized. And I respect what Jim Harbaugh has done with Justin Herbert and that team, because that team is pretty much the same, especially on defense. That defense is real. That team is pretty much the same. They don't have Keenan Allen anymore. They don't have Mike Williams anymore. And they're 7-3. They're 7-3 at this point in the season. So you got to give credit where credit is due. The Chargers can knock off anybody in the playoffs if they play their style of game, if they're able to play their style. I like where the Chargers are going with this new leadership. All right, let's see. And then last but not least, I want to talk about that Lions-Jaguar game. The reason I saved that for last is because we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the Eagles and the Lions, and we're going to do a lot of time comparing those teams. We're going to spend a lot of time comparing those teams. because both of those teams, in my opinion, are the class of the NFC. And in my opinion, both of those teams, the Eagles and the Lions, are top 5 teams in the NFL. That's how I view that. Maybe some of you guys view it differently. But me, I think the Lions and the Eagles are top 5 in the NFL. I think they are top 2 in the NFC. You take your pick. It's hard to look at the Lions and say they're not 1, though. It's hard. You know me, you guys. I keep it G. I'm a diehard for these birds. Y'all know that. And I got us going up against anybody. I trust my guys versus anybody. It's us versus anybody. Us versus everybody. It's us versus the field. Philly versus everybody. Y'all know how I carry it. But the Lions, they beat the Jaguars 52-6. I believe this is the 4th game or the 5th game of the season where the Lions have put up 40 points or more. They have been laying it on opponents. And you got to give credit to Jared Goff, who's playing very well. You got to give credit to that offensive line, the skill position guys. Got to give credit to Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, right? They've battled injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and they've done their best to try to supplement that, trading for, losing Aiden Hutchinson, trading for Zadarius Smith. You feel what I'm saying? They drafted Terrion Arnold, right? He's not playing better than Quinyon Mitchell, but they drafted Terrion Arnold nonetheless. Brian Branch playing very well. So that Detroit team is very, very, they're very, very, very good. Very, very good. They can beat anybody. Now, I do question once we get deep into January and things of that nature, because Detroit is a dome team. They're in Detroit, but they're a dome team. So I'm curious how they would fare if they were forced to go on the road in the playoffs in January. Now, granted, as of right now, they are the number 1 seed. And when I look at their upcoming schedule, there is opportunities for them to slip, just like it is for the Eagles. Just like it is for the Eagles. But there are opportunities for the Lions to slip. This is what they got coming up. They got the Colts. They still got the Bears twice. They got Green Bay. They got Buffalo. They got San Fran, and they got Minnesota. I understand San Fran is not playing well. But San Fran, again, I put San Francisco and the Rams in the same category. Their ceiling is high, but their floor is very, very low right now. Buffalo, that team is the best team, in my opinion. I think Buffalo may be the best team in the AFC. Buffalo just may be the best team in the AFC. Buffalo beat the Chiefs yesterday. I can't believe I skipped over that game. Buffalo Chiefs. Hell of a game. I watched that game too. Josh Allen is phenomenal. Josh Allen is phenomenal. He missed guys throughout that game. I mean, he went 27 for 40. Their running game wasn't really the strongest in that game. Their running game could have been better. And it has been better in other games. But this was a game where Josh Allen had to put the team on his back. Keon Coleman didn't play. Dalton Kincaid didn't play. All he had was Amari Cooper and Shakir, right? And he beat the Chiefs 30-21 at home, by the way. So the Bills, as of right now, are 9-2. The Chiefs are 9-1. I think the Bills, they have an opportunity to get that number 1 seed. I think Josh Allen is probably the front runner for MVP. Again, it's a quarterback award, right? As much as I think Saquon Barkley should be considered, 9 times out of 10 he won't win it. But he would get my vote. But Josh Allen was phenomenal in the crunch time, in the crucial moments. I mean, Buffalo put up 14 points in the 4th quarter to the Chiefs 7. I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. So, but yeah, back to the Lions, right? I look at the Lions and I say to myself, they're talented enough and good enough and coached well enough to beat anybody. But I am curious to see how they fare in January when they got to play outside. And again, that's if they don't maintain control of the number 1 seed. The Lions are 9-1, Eagles are 8-2, Minnesota's 8-2. But it's become very clear to me that this is an Eagles-Lions race. I know the Vikings are 8-2, but I don't believe them. This is a two-team race for the number one seed. Like I said, when I look at Detroit's schedule, I say, okay, can they slip against the 49ers on the road? Very possible. Can Chicago steal one? I think that's possible. If Chicago can build on what they've done, I think Chicago can steal one. They still got to play Chicago twice. If Chicago can continue to improve the way they have, if Chicago can build on that game against the Packers and muck it up a little bit, right? I think Chicago can potentially steal one. It's possible. It's possible. Green Bay, can they steal one? Green Bay lost to them earlier in the season, 24-14, but can Green Bay steal one on the road? Very possible. It's a Thursday night game, a short week. It may work out. Buffalo, that's going to be a big test for Detroit. Granted, Detroit will be home, but Buffalo is humming right now. We're going to find out if Detroit can keep pace and maintain control of that number one seed. But when you look at the Eagles schedule, right? The Eagles coming up, they have Rams, Baltimore, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Washington, Dallas, New York. Obviously, you look at Carolina, Dallas, and New York as layups. You look at those games as layups. But you look at LA, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Washington. Those games are not layups. Yes, we beat Washington, but we're going to be on the road next time. Anything can anything can happen when you're on the road. You're on the road against the Rams, and you're on the road going to Baltimore. Baltimore has a legit front seven. Their back four, mediocre. But their front seven, they can stop the run. They can get pressure. So it's going to be fascinating to see how Jalen Hurts and his offense fares against that defense. Pittsburgh, same thing. Can stop the run. They play really good defense. They do very well with getting pressure on quarterbacks, and they do very well with harnessing mobile quarterbacks. So the Philadelphia Eagles are going up against some pretty good defenses over the course of the next 4 weeks. So again, it's going to come down to who can keep pace. Lions 9-1, Eagles 8-2. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Now, I want to get to. Let me make sure I'm on task here. I want to get to something. Like I said, we had an eventful weekend here on Chalk It Up Sports on Twitter. It was an eventful weekend for myself. I ruffled a lot of feathers over the weekend. If you guys were keeping up with me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, you guys would have noticed that I was very active on Twitter this weekend. Very active. And I got into several debates regarding Jalen Hurts' his performance, Saquon Barkley's contributions, and just the overall state of the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason I bring it up is because I want to talk about it with you guys. I want to get a reality check with you guys. I want you guys to set me straight. I want to pick your brain. I want y'all to pick mine. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to bring up a handful of the tweets that I put out, because a handful of my tweets, I think about maybe two to three of my tweets went, I want to say, borderline viral a little bit. Borderline viral in the scope of Eagles fandom. I want to get your perspective, okay? Like I said, I had an eventful weekend. And a lot of you guys agreed. A lot of you guys disagreed. Some of you guys were kind of in the middle. So let's see what we're doing here. Let's bring up one of the tweets. And again, I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm here more so to get clarity and to hold myself accountable, because in tweeting this stuff, I believe it. I believe everything I said. But I also am not ashamed or resistant to checking my own ego. I am not above checking my own ego. I am not above self-scouting, because even though I have opinions, even though I have things I believe, I'm always self-scouting myself. I'm always asking myself the hard questions. I think I owe it to you guys to challenge myself, even when I have my beliefs, right? So let's just look at this tweet, right? So I posted this tweet, and this tweet of mine, it got nearly 200K views, nearly 200K, right? And close to 6,000 likes, over 600 retweets, over 300 replies. This was probably one of my more polarizing tweets. So here we are. I tweeted on November 15th. November 15th was what? Friday, right? Yeah, I think November 15th was Friday because Sunday was the 17th. Yeah. So Friday night, I tweeted, I'm convinced Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback in the NFL that has to play perfect every damn game in order to get the slightest bit of respect. Now, let's break that down a bit. And again, I'm an Eagles fan, and sometimes it can be challenging balancing my fandom with my objectivity. I'm being very honest with you guys right now. I'm being very honest. Sometimes it can be a little challenging balancing my fandom and my love for this team with my objectivity. Now, again, I do believe Jalen Hurts is one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in football. I do believe that wholeheartedly. I'm not moving off of that. And there are moments where I feel like, damn, can he get any love? He didn't turn the ball over. He managed the game. Every game is not going to go exactly how you envision, but do you make the winning plays? Did you win the game? Did you not hurt your team? Right? There are moments where I say to myself, damn, can Jalen Hurts get any love? Can he get any credit? He has this player. He has that player. You know, we've never seen him without weapons. Yes, you have. And he made it to the playoffs. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Jalen Hurts has had an elite season, because he has not. He has not had an elite season. I love Jalen Hurts. You guys know how I give it up. And I take my platform seriously. I take my face card very seriously. So hear me out on this. I am very, very, very much a fan of the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. And I do think Jalen Hurts is disrespected more than he should be. I do believe Jalen Hurts deserves more credit than he's gotten. I do believe at times people expect Jalen Hurts to play perfect. But when you start getting into the category that we put Jalen Hurts into, right? Because when we're talking about Jalen Hurts, we're not comparing him to Sam Darnold. We're not comparing him to Trevor Lawrence. We're not comparing him to Geno Smith. We're not really comparing him to Brock Purdy when we talk about him, right? I think when you enter certain rooms, now we're comparing you to everybody in that room, right? Jalen Hurts has been good for the Eagles this year. He's been good. This Eagles team as a whole has been spectacular. But I say this once again, the heights Jalen Hurts has climbed, he's no longer in the conversations with Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa. When we talk about Jalen Hurts, we talk about him in the lens of, hey, can he compete with Josh Allen? Can he compete with Patrick Mahomes? Can he compete with Joe Burrow? Can he compete with that Lions team and Jared Goff? Right? We're talking about guys like that. We're talking about teams like that. Because the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. And has Jalen played to the level that we know he can play at? No. That's a fact. Lamar Jackson as well, right? I think we all can definitively say, confidently, has Jalen Hurts played to the level that we know he can play at? No. Has he played well enough to win a lot of games and to be efficient and to dominate opponents? Yes. But again, once you start getting into that upper echelon, now we're asking, is Jalen Hurts playing well enough to beat the Lions? Is Jalen Hurts playing well enough to beat the Bills in the Super Bowl or beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? Right? I believe as of right now, the Eagles with Jalen Hurts are Super Bowl contenders. Even right now. Even as he's playing right now. And I don't think Jalen Hurts has played awful at all. His first 4 games were very streaky, very up and down. But since the bye week, I feel like Jalen Hurts has been efficient. He's been clean. He's been pushing the ball downfield. They've scored a lot of points. The defense has dominated opponents. I feel like overall, the Eagles have found their swing. But I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles are even close to where we know they can be. I don't. I think they can be better. I think the Eagles can be better. I think Jalen Hurts can be better. Even with the amount of love I show him. Even if I believe that people don't give him the respect that he deserves, or people don't give him enough credit for the work he has put in, or people don't give him credit for the distance he's traveled as a quarterback in the NFL. They said this man would not be in the league. They said he would be a backup at best. They said Jalen Hurts might have to change his position. Yet, he is the winningest quarterback from his draft class. Him and Joe Burrow are the only quarterbacks from their draft classes that have been to a Super Bowl. 2-time Pro Bowler, second-team All-Pro. Burt Bell Award winner. Career win-loss record as a starter, 42-19. He wins games. And winning is the most important thing. Don't get it twisted. And don't get me misconstrued. Winning is the most important thing. But again, when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, and once you get into the playoffs, everything is one and done. The margin for error continues to dwindle. The margin for error continues to thin and becomes damn near non-existent. And when you look at the Lions and you look at the Eagles and you see how dominant both teams have been, now you ask yourself, what's the edge? What will be the difference? Will it be home field advantage? Will it be the quarterbacks? That's the conversation we're having. So when people do offer constructive criticism of Jalen Hurts, I listen. But when people offer unfair criticism of Jalen Hurts, I can't jack that. And when I tweeted this, again, I'll read it for you guys. I'm convinced Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback in the NFL that has to play perfect every damn game in order to get the slightest bit of respect. The slightest. We know what Jalen Hurts is capable of. We've seen it at the highest level in the biggest of games. We know Jalen Hurts can get it done. But when you start getting into those rooms, when you're in the room with the Lions, because remember, the Lions were at the top of the mountain all year long. And people were wondering who in the conference, who in the NFC will challenge them. And now it's looking like the Philadelphia Eagles are the clear team that will challenge the Lions. Not just in terms of the win-loss record, but in terms of talent, both sides of the ball, the quarterback position, coaching, right? Kellen Moore versus that Lions defense, Vic Fangio versus Ben Johnson, and that Lions offense. When you get into those rooms, now we're not talking about Brock Purdy. We're not talking about Matthew Stafford. We're not talking about Kyler Murray. We're not talking about Jordan Love. We're not talking about Caleb Williams or Trevor Lawrence or any of those guys. Now it's a room. It's a tier. Eagles, Lions, 1A, 1B. You take your pick. A lot of people will take the Lions. And I understand why. They have been very dominant, more dominant. And let's be honest about this. When it comes to throwing the football, Jared Goff has out-executed Jalen Hurts. That's a fact. He has. You guys know where I stand. But I've watched these games. And I will always stand on the soapbox for my quarterback. And I mean what I say, and I say what I mean when it comes to Jalen Hurts in the vacuum. But now, we're not talking about Jayden Daniels. We're not talking about everybody else. Jalen Hurts is going to have to out-execute Jared Goff because both of those rosters are comparable. Both teams are getting good coaching. Both teams have hit their stride. Are there higher expectations for Jalen Hurts than Jared Goff? I think so. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions in a football game. He should have not gotten the amount of love he got for doing that. If Jalen Hurts threw 5 fumbles, 5 interceptions, 5 incompletions, whatever the hell it is, if Jalen Hurts would have did that, they would have hung him out to dry. They would have had him on the firing block. So, yes, is there often an unfair narrative surrounding Jalen Hurts and his career? Yes. But if somebody asked me, hey, yo, Tone, do you think Jalen Hurts can play better? Do you think Jalen Hurts can play better? I would have to look them in the eye and say, yes, I actually think he can. And I think he does. He does have to play better, and he can play better. But that's not me trying to discount what the brother has done. Because over the past several games, Jalen Hurts has been very efficient. He's had 5, or I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's had 5 consecutive games 5 consecutive games, excuse me, you guys, of a 115 passer rating or higher. 5 consecutive games. It's not easy to do. It's not. No matter who you're playing, it's not easy to do. But Jalen Hurts has been efficient. He's been effective. He's protected the football. And the Eagles have put up points. And for the most part, they've dominated every opponent coming out of the bye week. He deserves credit for that. He's run the football. He's gotten in the end zone with multiple touchdowns in multiple weeks. Jalen Hurts has been productive. He's been effective. He's been efficient. And he's won. And I say all that to say he can play better. Because let's be honest, he has missed guys, wide open guys. That Washington game stands out the most. Devontae Smith on the crosser right in front of him. Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown right there in the back of the end zone, wide open. Dallas Goedert, wide open on the flat in the red zone. That's not me trying to take anything away from Jalen Hurts. You guys know how I stand with the brother. I will go to war with anybody. I'm taking Jalen Hurts in any war zone because I know he gets it done. It may not be pretty. It may not be sexy. And that takes me to my next tweet. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. He went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. Come on, man. Let's not change history, Champ Blue. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to a Super Bowl. But let's get to my other tweet. Because again, and we're still talking about Jalen Hurts. Let's get to my other tweet. That ruffled a lot of feathers, okay? This tweet, over 28,000 views. Let's talk about this one. Like I said, I was very active over the weekend. Very active on social media. And we got into some friendly debates. We got into some friendly debates. Some people, and also, by the way, you guys, I'm going to get to your super chats, I promise. I'm going to get to your super chats. I just want to get through my spiel here. So please bear with me. If you guys want to continue to send super chats, please do. Don't worry about that. I'm going to get to them. You guys know how I give it up. Here's my other tweet as it pertains to Jalen Hurts. Because again, people love to talk about what he can't do instead of focusing on what he can do. I feel like there are so many truths in what people are saying. But I think at times, and again, I'm guilty of it, and this is me being vulnerable with you guys. This is me being very transparent and direct with you guys because I owe it to you. You guys support me. You guys invest in me. I cannot do this show every single day and not be honest and give you my truth and tell you what we all see. The tweet goes as this. Jalen Hurts, and I quote, this is my tweet, and I quote, Jalen Hurts isn't the most talented. He's not the fastest. Doesn't have the strongest arm. Doesn't have elite quarterback vision. His game isn't the sexiest. But guess what? He wins. Last time I checked, this league is about wins, losses, and production. End quote. Now, I don't know how some of you guys feel about that. But me, I tend to look at the game rather simply. I try not to overcomplicate this game. There are some people who like to overcomplicate this game and they want to nerd out and they want to get into the analytics and they want to get into how far this guy can throw the ball and they want to get in all of that, right? And I stand on this. This is the tweet that I stand on. I stand on this. I look at Jalen Hurts, and we've been watching Jalen Hurts since 2020. We've been watching Jalen Hurts for the past handful of years. And Jalen Hurts has been very productive in the NFL. He's been extremely productive. But also, I look at Jalen Hurts and I know for a fact Jalen Hurts is not the most talented quarterback. He's not the most natural thrower. He doesn't throw the prettiest football. I think Jalen Hurts has a top 5 deep ball in the league. I think Jalen Hurts has one. I think Jalen Hurts throws arguably the best deep ball in the NFL. I don't know who throws a better deep ball than Jalen Hurts right now. You could probably make an argument for whoever, but Jalen Hurts, he throws a fantastic deep ball. And that's one of his strongest attributes as a thrower. He also throws with pretty good anticipation, right? He also throws with pretty good anticipation. But here's the thing. I know who Jalen Hurts is. I never want people to get me misconstrued and think that I don't know who Jalen Hurts is. Jalen Hurts is not going to be a quarterback that throws for 5,000, 4,500 yards in the season. That's not his game. He's not going to throw 40 touchdowns in a year. That's not his game. He's not. You know? He's not. He's not the most talented. He had to grind to get here. He's a second-round pick. He's a Heisman. He was a Heisman runner-up for sure. But when he was drafted, when you think about the quarterbacks taken before him, a lot of people didn't think Jalen Hurts would make it in this league. They didn't. And he has had to work overtime to elevate his game to as we see it today. Do we remember how Jalen Hurts looked his first year starting in 2021? Do we remember? It's night and day how he is now. It's night and day. He's way more accurate. He throws with way better timing. His deep ball is way better. He's seeing the field more. He's attacking the middle of the field more. Jalen Hurts has improved over the course of his career. Granted, it's been incremental. He's been stacking the days, stacking the weeks, stacking the months, stacking the seasons. And I believe Jalen Hurts is where he is because of true hard work and dedication to self. And I also think Howie Roseman has done an amazing job building around Jalen Hurts to give him confidence, to help him improve. A lot of people like to say, A.J. Brown made Jalen Hurts. Devontae Smith made Jalen Hurts. You know, oh, where would he be without Saquon Barkley? A lot of people like to say that. Listen, before A.J. Brown got here, we knew he was a good receiver. We knew he was good. We knew he was solid for sure in Tennessee. But let's not pretend Jalen Hurts didn't elevate A.J. Brown as well. A.J. Brown has had career year after career year playing with Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown played with Ryan Tannehill. And I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill is awful, but there were some people who, when we traded for A.J. Brown, you know what some of them said? You know what some of them said when we traded for A.J. Brown? They said, hey, who's going to throw him the ball? They said, who's going to throw him the ball? A.J. Brown is on his second extension. Back-to-back seasons over 1,300 yards receiving. Like, what are we talking about? They complement each other. They've helped each other. But you know what? That's not the sexy conversation. That's not the polarizing conversation. That's not the conversation that moves the needle. The conversation that moves the needle is A.J. Brown made Hurts. That's the conversation people like to have. My man Big Chris says, well, we've seen Hurts against the Bucks without AJ Smitty. Let's not forget that. And guess what? We've seen AJ and Smitty against the Saints without Jalen Hurts. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that. 2022. Jalen Hurts goes down with a shoulder injury. Gardner Minshew comes in. Plays his best against the Cowboys. We lose. We play a Saints team. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, they're all on the field. What happened? Couldn't move the fucking ball. So again, I don't like splitting hairs. I don't like getting too wrapped up in the conversation of, oh, if this guy didn't have this guy or this guy didn't have that guy. I feel like that is the most lazy sports talk in the fucking world. I hate when people like to live in hypotheticals. Live in reality. Reality. And again, I'm not sitting here trying to convince you guys Jalen Hurts is Mahomes, or I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to be as fair-minded as possible. But Jalen Hurts has dealt with a ton of coaching turnover in his young NFL career. He had a terrible defense in 2023. He had a terrible defense in 2021. Whenever Jalen Hurts has had a defense, and we saw that in 2022, he made it to a Super Bowl. Now, granted, I think this defense is better than the one in 2022, but that's a different conversation. But all I'm trying to get across here is that Jalen Hurts has overcome and overachieved like no other. He has made so much ground, or covered so much ground, or closed the distance between him and some of those other guys. He has. And I stand on his tweet. He's not the most talented. Some people try to argue with me and say, what do you mean he is talented? People don't listen. People don't listen. When I tweeted this, somebody responded and said, Tone, what are you talking about? He is talented. It's not what I'm saying. Jalen Hurts does have talent. In order to be in the NFL, you got to have some kind of talent. You got to. In order to go the places Jalen Hurts has been, in order to be as productive Jalen Hurts has been, you got to have some kind of talent. You got to. But again, we're not comparing Jalen Hurts to the bottom of the barrel. We're comparing Jalen Hurts to the top 10, top 5. And I'm sorry if it hurts some of y'all feelings. As much as I love Jalen Hurts, y'all know how I give it up. So I'm not going to keep trying to qualify my takes. Jalen Hurts is a talented athlete. Sure enough, that's a good point. I like what Sure enough just said here. I like this. Hurts is a talented athlete. Lacks some at the quarterback position. And that's fine. And that's a fact. And that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And honestly, the most talented guy doesn't always get the girl in the end. You feel what I'm saying here? We should know this by now in life. Hard work beats talent every day of the week. That's why Jalen Hurts has lasted as long in the NFL as he has, because he's worked his ass off. He's worked his ass off. And that's why I get so angry or frustrated when people try to dismiss his contributions, when people try to take away the ground he has covered developing in the league, when people try to talk about him without context. I get frustrated because I look at this brother and I've seen where he was and I see where he is now. And I say to myself, damn, give him something. Give him something. I'm not asking you to say he's better than Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. I'm not asking you to say that to me. I'm not asking that. But when I see people giving Brock Purdy the grace they give him and Jalen Hurts can't buy a damn donut, what are we talking about? And on top of that, Jalen Hurts, even not being the most talented quarterback in the NFL, Jalen Hurts on his career, 42-19. 42-19 career record as a starter. That's not an accident. You can't get the 42-19 just based off of who you have around you. You got to play the game. You got to play the game. And Jalen Hurts, even when he's not playing his best game, he knows how to ride that wave. He knows how to make winning plays. He does. But I say again, like I said before, now we're getting deep into the weeds. Now we're in the jungle. The lion versus the eagle. Now we say to Jalen Hurts, okay, can you elevate your game to knock out the Detroit Lions? If you had to face the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship, can you take it to another level? I think he can. But even more so, he has to. He has to. He has to. Because if this team, if the Eagles are going to win a Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts is going to have to up the ante. He's going to have to up his level. There are moments where the offense goes flat or where the passing game looks stagnant. That's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. But Jalen Hurts is having a good season. But come playoff time, he has to be great. He has to be great. Let me show you guys something. I've compiled Jalen Hurts' stats and season outcome throughout his entire career as a starter. I want to show you guys something. Check this out. I tweeted this a while back. I tweeted this a while back. Check this. And remember what I said earlier, right? I believe that this league is about wins, losses, and production. Production gets you the money. Wins should get you the respect. That's how I look at it. That's how I process NFL football. Production gets you paid. Wins get you respect. Do we agree or disagree with that? I'm asking you guys now. When it comes to the NFL, do you guys agree that production gets you paid? Wins get you respect? Philly Flyover says, I agree with that. So, if you look at these numbers here, this has been Jalen Hurts' production over the 4 seasons he's been the starter for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just look these over and look at the production. Just look at it. And again, Jalen Hurts is a dual threat quarterback. Dual threat. He's going to pass for touchdowns. He's going to run touchdowns in. And somebody told me, well, you know, he's a tush push merchant. He's a quarterback sneak merchant. Those touchdowns aren't real. Well, if that's the case, how come everybody else don't do it? if Jalen Hurts' quarterback sneak touchdowns were so easy, why doesn't everybody do it? Everybody can't do it. There's only maybe a few quarterbacks in the league that can execute that like that. Hurts, Josh Allen, I don't know. Like, who else? Who else? Like I said, Jalen Hurts' style, it's not sexy. Jalen Hurts' style does not excite old school football heads. It doesn't. It doesn't. But in the modern NFL, when you have so many quarterbacks who can get it done with their legs and their arm, you have to alter how you process the game. You have to alter how you analyze the game. Yeah. A-track. Yeah. You see, sometimes we get so locked in a season, we get so locked into a macro. This is who Jalen Hurts has been over the course of his career. And remind you, I tweeted this before the Commanders game. But just look at this, right? If Jalen Hurts was a first-round pick, how would you feel about these numbers? I'm asking y'all directly now, my people who are locked in. We got over 230 people in the live stream. Thank y'all so much for being here. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. We got over 230 people in the live stream. We only got 84 likes. Come on, you guys. Give me that thumbs up. Give me that thumbs up. Come on now. Come on. Do your job. Y'all got one job. Relax and hit the like button. That's all y'all got to do is relax and hit the like button. Help me out with that. Let's get that to match up. We got 235 people in here watching. Only 89 likes. Let's go. Come on. Pick it up. So again, I ask you guys, honestly, with this kind of production, if Jalen Hurts was the first round pick, do you guys think they would talk about him differently? With these exact numbers, just look at the numbers. I don't know if you guys can see them clearly or not. I'm going to try to make it bigger. Just look at that. If Jalen Hurts was a first-round pick, with these numbers, what do you think it would say? And in these results, what do you think it would say? They would give him so much more respect if he was a first-round pick. And then sometimes they act like Jalen Hurts didn't. Sometimes they act like Jalen Hurts just inherited all this talent. He didn't. He was here when they were 4-11-1. 4-11-1. He was here when they were 4-11-1. He took over a 4-11-1 team. Now, granted, in 2020, we had a lot of injuries on the O-line. But other than that, we were very weak at wide receiver. Zach Ertz was getting old. Defense was awful. I mean, look. I'm not trying to convince you guys that Jalen Hurts is just this Mahomes, Allen. I'm not trying to do that. But all I want is my guy to get some kind of respect. Something. But I say again, like I said before. When we talk about Jalen Hurts, we're not just comparing him to these lesser guys anymore. We're talking about these top tier guys, right? And that's a compliment. To go from not even knowing if Jalen Hurts can do it versus comparing him to these top 5, top 7 guys. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. All right. My final tweet that I want to bring up, and this is the one that probably ground my gears the most. The final tweet that I want to bring up before I get to the super chats. Thank you guys so much for being patient. I really do appreciate you guys for locking in the way you guys have. This is another tweet that I need you guys to give me some perspective on. Give me 1 second while I pull it up. All right. This is what I tweeted here. Because again, I was very active over the weekend, and the bando was jumping on X. So you guys read that. I wrote, and I quote, let me remind you all that Saquon Barkley was a free agent, and all 32 teams had a shot to sign him. Y'all called him washed and said running backs have no value. But the Eagles felt differently. Now y'all crying because he's taking the birds to another level. Go cry in the car. Go cry in the car. Go cry in the car. People love saying, ooh, Saquon Barkley has carried the Eagles. Ooh, where would the Eagles be without Saquon Barkley? Where would they be? Where would they be? Ooh. Like I told you guys earlier, I don't deal with hypotheticals. I don't deal with hypotheticals. I focus on the reality. I don't deal with hypotheticals. I focus on what is. Every team in the NFL had a chance at Barkley. They all did. The Giants had first dibs. They had him in the building. The Cowboys had a shot at Barkley, and they had a shot at Derrick Henry. Washington had a shot at him. They decided to go with Austin Eckler. Who else? San Fran obviously got CMC, and he was hurt, but they weren't going to go after him. But the point is, Harry Roseman deserves all the credit in the world for identifying the value in Saquon Barkley and knowing that him being on this team will help elevate everybody and will take the team to another level and will make the Eagles that much more unbeatable. You see, here's the thing. When you build a roster, your goal is to plug as many holes as possible. So in the event one thing is not working, you have another thing to lean on or another aspect of your offense to go to. It goes for both sides of the ball. But again, when you're building a roster, your goal is to plug as many holes as possible. And in the event something does go wrong with one of those holes, you got so many other holes covered, it's ridiculous. So again, people love saying, ooh, who would Jalen Hurts be without Saquon? Who would this team be without Saquon? Stop with the lazy conversations. It's funny, I tweeted yesterday, damn, where would Jordan Love and the Packers be without Josh Jacobs? Because there was a point in that game where Josh Jacobs took over the game and was moving the ball for them. Where would they be without Josh Jacobs? And then I even put under it saying, that sounds stupid, don't it? See how stupid it sounds to say something like that? The Packers saw value in Josh Jacobs, and they felt like he could take their offense to another level. The Packers just got off of paying Jordan Love the same offseason. They paid Jordan Love the same offseason. He came off of that spectacular season, and they came off of that beautiful run in the playoffs. And you know what the Green Bay Packers organization said? They say, you know what? We can be better. As a matter of fact, let's go get Josh Jacobs. They didn't cut their nose despite their face and say, you know what? Nah, I'm not paying a running back. We got Jordan Love. I bet you the Bills would love Saquon Barkley right now. I bet you the Chiefs would love Saquon Barkley right now. It doesn't matter how good the quarterbacks is. When you look at all the teams that are relevant, that are winning, that are going to be in the playoff picture, that are contenders, they all have a running game. You cannot win in this league without a running game. They tried to convince us that you can't win, or you in order to win, you got to pass the ball. You got to have a running game too. Everybody had a shot at Saquon. Everybody had a shot at Derrick Henry. Everybody had a shot at Josh Jacobs. The Ravens didn't get cocky and say, nah, we got Lamar Jackson. They say, you know what? We got Lamar Jackson. Let's throw Derrick Henry in there. That'd be insane. That'll make us even more unguardable. The Packers said, or the Packers didn't say, hey, we got Jordan Love. We don't need Josh Jacobs. You know what they said? They said, yo, we got Jordan Love, but Josh Jacobs can take it to another level. The Eagles didn't say, oh, we got Jalen Hurts. We got A.J. Brown. We're good. They said, no, we got A.J. Brown. We got Jalen Hurts. We got Devontae Smith. Let's go get Saquon Barkley. He'll take it to the next level. So, again, we gotta change the way we process sports. We got to stop dealing in the hypothetical and focus on what is. Hypotheticals don't pay the bills. Hypotheticals don't get you out of a jam. Like, I don't understand. And I know I said this is the final tweet, but I got one more. Tweet to show y'all. And this is the one that took the cake for me. This is the one that took the cake. This is the one that took the cake for me. So I said, let me get this straight. The Eagles are getting crucified for A, drafting well, B, having a keen eye for free agents, and C, knowing how to balance the checkbook. Man, if y'all don't shut y'all sorry A's up and tell y'all franchises to do better. You see, they love trying to say, ooh, Jalen Hurts or the Eagles got a super team. They love saying we got a super team. They love saying that. We got a super team. Build one. It's not difficult. Just ask Kyrie Roseman. It's not difficult. Well, you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe it is difficult. Because everybody can't do it. You see, they want us to apologize, okay? They want us to apologize. They want Kyrie Roseman and Jalen Hurts to apologize for having talent. They want us to apologize for that. And here's the thing about it, right? Jalen Hurts is making an average salary north of $50 million, I believe. People say, whoa, hold on, you're paying A.J. Brown, you're paying Devontae Smith, you're paying Jalen Hurts, you're paying Saquon Barkley, you're paying Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. You're paying all these guys you're paying Dallas Goedert. You're paying all these guys on offense. It's not fair. It's not fair. Hey, what my man Jesse Pinkman say out of Breaking Bad? Shout out to Jesse Pinkman. Hey, y'all. I don't know if you guys are a fan of Breaking Bad, because I am, but do y'all remember what Jesse said? He said, he can't keep getting away with that. He can't keep getting away with it. That's everybody else right now when it comes to the Eagles. That's how they feel. That's how they feel about the Eagles, that we can't keep getting away with it. We're not doing anything illegal. We're not doing anything illegal. I don't understand. I don't understand. You guys have access to the same information we do. You guys got access to the same free agent pool we do. You guys got access to the same draft that we do. We all playing around with the same cap space. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? They want us to apologize. And trust me, I'm not having it. I'm not at all. Not having it whatsoever. All right. Make sure you guys smash that like button. You guys are tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the gang. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. If you guys are new, thank you guys so much for listening live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Also, thank you guys who are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast on your own time. Thank you so much for locking in the way you guys have. It means a lot to me. Thank you for supporting the show. All right. Let's get these tweets off the board here. That was fun. We got a lot of talking points out of that. Now I'm going to get to your super chats before we get out of here. Thank you guys for donating to the channel. Thank you guys for providing super chats. It means a lot to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's see here. Let's see what we got. All right, we got Michael McLean. We got Eric Oldhead Young. We got Christopher Kage. We got Ward. We got King DV Sports, Dana Scott, my man S. Blunt in the building, Philip Thomas. Okay. All right, let's get through it. Okay, let's get through this. My man Michael McLean, OG, Triple OG, what's going on, sir? He says, Tone, you the man. I love it when you're a real one covering our birds. Bro, thank you. Michael, I really do appreciate the love. I appreciate you donating to the channel, Michael. Look, sometimes my fandom can infiltrate my objectivity. I'm being honest. You know, I've been an Eagles fan all my life. You know, I'm 29 years old. I'll be 30 this year. You know, I've been an Eagles fan since I came out the womb. I don't know any of the football team. I've cried for this team. I've rooted for this team. I've fought for this team. Like, you know, I'm so Philly, it's ridiculous, bro. Born and raised in Philly, through and through. 23rd and Diamond, baby. 23rd and Diamond. Right in between 23rd and Diamond, 23rd and Dolphin. Right there, baby. Raymond Rosen Projects. Raymond Rosen Projects. PHA. I'm Philly, baby. All my life I've been in Philly. I just moved to Texas last year. In July of last year. But I'm so Philly is sickening. For me, it's Philly versus everybody. I don't care what nobody say. So I go hard for this team. I do. I go hard for this team. And sometimes in me going hard, my objectivity can be a little lost. But I will always circle back and be honest and be fair. You see, some people will say what I do is a homer. I say I'm fair. I feel like I try to be fair with every quarterback, right? The only time I nitpick quarterbacks is when somebody nitpick mine. Because I don't nitpick quarterbacks. I really don't. Because I look at every quarterback as an isolated player in their particular situation. I don't try to get into the habit of comparing quarterbacks. And every quarterback has a unique skill set that fits their situation, that fits their offense. Every team is building their roster around their quarterback the best way they know how. And I try to critique and talk about quarterbacks in relation to what they're being asked to do in their offense and so on and so forth. But thank you for the super chat, Michael. Michael McLean. Thank you so much, sir. Eric, the old head young ball Stewart. That's funny. Eric says, good to see you. He says, good to see you continue with the hard work. Thank you, Eric. I really do appreciate that. It means a lot. It means a lot to me, man. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you so much for investing in the show as well, Eric. I really do appreciate you, big dog. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for showing mad love, man. I love what I do. I love kicking it with you guys. You guys are always here showing love. You guys are always here helping the show grow. You know, just make sure you guys continue to smash that like button. It means a lot to me. Thank you. All right. Warv, my brother. Warv is in the building. He says, Bills, Packers, and Niners. If they lose 2 out of those 3, we should be good. Preferably the Packers and Niners for the tiebreakers. Yeah, I know. The Eagles got some heavy lifting too. They got to deal with the Steelers and deal with the Ravens. We beat the Commanders already, so we own that tiebreaker, but you still want to beat them, though. You still want to beat them. I think we can sweep the division this year. I really, really do. I think we can sweep the division this year. But when it comes to the Lions schedule, they got Bills, Packers, and Niners. That's tough. And also, I think the Bears can steal one. I think the Bears can steal one. I really, really do. The race for the number 1 seed is likely going to come down to week 18. It's going to come down to the final week. It's going to come down to the final week. Thank you for the super chat, Wharf. All right, let's see what we got. Chris with the super chat. Thank you, Chris the Rakage, Bruce. He says the hate Jalen gets needs to be studied. Hey, look, man. I don't think Jalen Hurts gets the fairest of shakes in the NFL. I don't. But when people do offer constructive criticism, I'm willing to hear you out. Because I will never pretend like I'm ignoring when he misses open people. There are times where I'm like, Jalen, come on, dog. He was right in front of you. There are moments when I say that. But also, Jalen Hurts is like 6'1", 6'2". He's not a tall guy at all. So sometimes I imagine it could be a little tough seeing over those offensive linemen. And that's not me trying to make an excuse, but regardless, though, there are times where criticism or critique is warranted. And there are times where I'm just like, yo, you guys are just being assholes. So, Chris, I feel you, man. I feel you. Jalen Hurts does get unnecessary hate. King DV Sports, thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, facts. Hurts is top 5. He will have a 2020 season. That 2020 season would be cool to see. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know if he can do it, but that'd be really cool. Thank you for donating to the channel, DV. I really do appreciate it. Dana Scott with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Dana. I appreciate you for always being here every single day. Dana says, Eagles fan or not, we see what's going on. No lies detected in your post on X. I'm glad Jalen is focused and keeps it professional. Life isn't easy, and it surely isn't fair. We all have flaws, period. Hashtag fly Eagles fly. Hey, Dana, I love that. And thank you for the $20 super chat, Dana. I really do appreciate that. That means a lot to me. You're right, man. Look, Jalen Hurts is far from perfect in terms of his game. Jalen Hurts is not the most talented quarterback at all. He's not. Does Jalen Hurts miss receivers? He does. Are there times where we're saying to ourselves, yo, Jalen, let the ball go. Why are you holding it forever? Right? Like there are times where we're saying that. There are plenty of times when we say that. Don't get it misconstrued. But the way they talk about Jalen Hurts is sometimes just blows my mind. Just blows my mind sometimes. And you know what they say after that? They say, well, he got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and that O-line, and Saquon Barkley. I mean, what is he really doing? Okay. So when people start getting into that, I'm like, all right, I can't have a conversation with you because you're not trying to be fair about it. You're just trying to discredit him any way you can. You don't get to a career 42-19 record just being carried. You don't. You don't. You don't get to a 42-19 42-19 career record by being carried. It can't happen. It's not the NBA. Thank you, Dana, once again. My man S. Blunt, he said, which stats do you use to evaluate or determine the best quarterback? That's a good question, man. You know, I don't think there's one category that just sums it all up. I don't. Some people like to pretend that there's one singular category or one singular stat that qualifies or quantifies a good quarterback from a terrible one or the best. So that's a tough question for me to answer as Blunt. For me, I look at completion percentage. I look at turnovers. I look at EPA. I just look at production, man. I look at production, and I look at what, like again, like you can't really judge a quarterback off one stat category. You can't, because anybody can fudge up the numbers and find a stat category to make Sam Darnold look like the best quarterback in the league. You feel what I'm saying? So I think there are several categories. I think the most important categories, though, is wins and losses. Wins and losses. At the end of the day, it always comes back to wins and losses. Did you win or did you lose? Did you win or did you lose? Simple as that. Simple as that. But again, I don't think there's one category that you can use to just sum up a quarterback's performance. But you did put S in parentheses, meaning more stats. So, yeah, I'll look at completion percentage, EPA, wins and losses. You know, some people don't believe wins and losses are a quarterback stat. I disagree wholeheartedly. Because if that wasn't the if wins and losses weren't a quarterback stat, why do we track quarterback wins and losses over the course of their careers? If it wasn't a quarterback stat, why do we track it? Why do we use it as a way to judge quarterbacks? If it's not a quarterback stat, I feel like wins and losses are a team stat and a quarterback stat. A team stat and a quarterback stat. Simple as that. It's hard for people to just say both, because that's not the sexy conversation. There can only be one. But no. Wins and losses are a quarterback stat and it's a team stat. That's my opinion. I know that's not polarizing enough for some people, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Thank you, S. Blunt, by the way. Philip Thomas with the super chat. Thank you so much, Philip. I appreciate you. He says, Hurts not the most talented, but is so willing to learn. Absolutely, right? Jalen Hurts is not and was not the most talented quarterback coming in, not the most talented quarterback today, but he has dedicated himself to his craft. He's dedicated himself to really getting better as a quarterback. He's gotten where he is strictly off hard work and dedication. So I feel you on that, Philip. Thank you for the super chat too, Philip. I appreciate it. And also, Philip, I think I gave you a wrench, by the way. Make sure I gave that to you. Yep. All right. Let's get to the remaining super chats. Also, thank you guys so much for locking in throughout the show. Make sure you smash that like button. Give me a thumbs up on the way in. Give me a thumbs up on the way out. Also, shout out to you guys who are listening on Apple Podcast, listening on Spotify, or watching on Spotify. Thank you guys so much as well. All of you listening live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, thank you. All right. Let's see here. Soul on Wax with the super chat. He says, just checking in, Tone. All that matters is who's up next. We're not ducking nobody. Facts. Even with all the criticism, people want to throw Jalen Hurts away. He ain't ducking no smoke, and neither are we. I want it with anybody. Anybody can get it. You feel me? So I feel you on that, Soul. Thank you for the super chat too, man. Thank you. Divine Tape with the $5 super chat. He says, do you think we should keep Moore to help Jalen develop? Yes. Yes, I do. You see, this is another thing, too, that we don't talk about enough. Jalen Hurts is dealing with his third offensive coordinator in 3 years. His third offensive coordinator in 3 years. He had Shane Steichen for 2 years, Brian Johnson for 1, and he had Kellen Moore for 1, the current year. And we saw what Jalen Hurts looks like when he has a second year in the situation. You see, the thing is, Kellen Moore may potentially be in line for a head coaching job. It's entirely possible that he gets a head coaching job. That Bears job is potentially going to be available. What else? Let me see what else job could potentially be available. That Jaguars job is going to be available. There's a chance that Vegas job may be available. There's a chance the Saints job may be available. The Cowboys job is going to be available. So, to your point, Devontae, it's going to be really interesting to see if we can hold on to Kellen Moore for another year. I would love to see Jalen Hurts with Kellen Moore for another season. I would love it. I would love it. I would really, really love it. All right. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. Thank you guys so much for locking in on the show the way you guys have. I really, really do appreciate the love and the support that you guys have been consistently providing over the course of the season. You guys got a ton of options, and you still kick it with the boy. We've had over 200 people in the building today. Big Chris says, I think Fangio is staying here. No, Fangio's not going anywhere. Fangio is going to retire here. Vic Fangio is going to retire here. He made it very clear that this is the long job. I mean, this is the last job. Daquan Adams says Ben Johnson ain't going nowhere. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Don't be surprised if Ben Johnson goes for that Chicago job. Don't be surprised. Chicago was making a play for Ben Johnson, regardless of the outcome of the season for the Lions. I'm telling you, if I'm Chicago, I am gunning for Ben Johnson. I'm giving Ben Johnson a blank check. Remember, Ben Johnson was interviewing for other jobs this past offseason, and he decided to go back to the Lions. And one can argue his stock has risen higher than it was last year. So don't be surprised if Ben Johnson ends up in Chicago coaching Caleb Williams, because I think Eberflus is out of here. And also, what I'm noticing about these OCs, right? What I'm noticing about these future coaching hires is that they are taking more ownership of their futures, of their careers, right? A lot of these guys like Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson, they could have got head coaching jobs last year. But you know what they said? They said, you know what? I'm not going to a situation where you're going to fire me in 2 or 3 years because we don't have the talent. So look, a lot of these coaches are taking a lot of control of their futures, and they're not just taking any head coaching job because it's there. I think you may see Ben Johnson end up in Chicago. If I'm Chicago, I'm making a strong push for him. But anyway, thank you guys for locking in. That's our show for today. Thank you so much to all of you who've donated to the channel. Thank you all you guys who have listened to the channel. Let me see here. My man S. Blunt says, future topic suggestions. Compare the 2022 team to the 2024 team. Topic 2, we should give out mid-season awards. MVP of the Eagles, offensive player, defensive player, rookie of the year, comeback player, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. Let me screenshot that. I like that idea. I like that. I'm going to screenshot that. All right. Thank you, S. Blunt. I appreciate it. Alex says we need to keep our secondary coach to take over after Fangio retires. Yeah, Christian Parker is not going to be here that long, bro. Don't be surprised if Christian Parker doesn't get a DC job next year. Christian Parker is phenomenal. Him and Bobby King may get DC jobs next year. That's how good they've been. It's very possible. We'll see, though. We'll see. I highly doubt Christian Parker will wait out Vic Fangio. Because Vic Fangio, remember, he calls the game from the booth. He doesn't stand on the sideline. So Vic Fangio, I don't know how many years he has on his contract, but he's going to retire here. I wouldn't be surprised if we had Vic Fangio for the next 3 years minimum. And by then, I think Christian Parker will want to be a DC, maybe a head coach somewhere. All right, that's our show. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the show. Thank you guys for listening on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Thank you guys also for listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Continue to support the show. Continue to stay active on X. You guys know I'm always on there talking my trash. Thank you guys also for hearing me spiel and rant. Means a lot, man. Means a lot. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. And you guys have been locked in on a very special dose, a Philadelphia Eagles dose, a Monday edition of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.